In the dark memory of my past, a terrifying experience lingers. It dates back to when I was just 10. My younger brother had just turned 7. It's a bone-chilling memory that has carved itself into my psyche, shaping the person I've become. Our parents had arranged for a temporary babysitter for 4 days, a teenager we only knew as Sam. He was a student at the high school our parents had attended, a fact that somehow gave them a sense of comfort and familiarity. From Friday to Monday, we were to be under the watch of a seemingly harmless 17-year-old. The first time we met Sam was the day before our parents left for their trip. He had a friendly demeanor. His warm smile and easygoing nature impressed my parents. His confidence and enthusiasm seemed to quell their worries about leaving us with a stranger. However, despite his seemingly affable nature, there was something disconcerting about him. It was as though his friendliness was a little too rehearsed, his smile a fraction too wide, his gaze lingering a bit too long. As a 10-year-old, I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but my instincts were quietly sounding an alarm. I remember feeling a chill as I watched him interact with my parents, a sensation I brushed aside, attributing it to the unfamiliarity of the situation. But deep down, I knew there was something off about Sam. My first day under his watch is mostly a blur. I remember being in my room, deep into Tetris on my Game Boy, a comforting distraction from the unfamiliar situation. Sam eventually joined me, expressing an interest in the game and initiating a friendly competition. We spent the afternoon immersed in the game, a fun experience that started to make me feel relaxed around him. I couldn't deny that the evening had been fun and that he seemed like a good person. I remember how stupid I felt for judging him right off and not actually giving him a chance. The next day, my friend Liam came over, and we spent the afternoon playing badminton in the backyard, with Sam taking on the role of the umpire. We took turns playing with Sam, as he obviously was much better than we were, but he gave us a fair match. It didn't matter that much that he was holding back, since we all seemed to enjoy it just as much. After beating Sam in the final game, he acknowledged his defeat and suggested that we should order pizza. I explained that our parents had said that we were not allowed to eat pizza, but he insisted that it was okay if we just kept it a secret. We all ate in front of the TV, and Sam had brought a VHS tape of an action movie that we otherwise would never be allowed to watch. "Just keep it a secret, okay?" he said, while we, free from all guilt, continued to watch. Later that evening, as I was in my room playing on my Game Boy, Sam popped his head in, suggesting we play another round of Tetris. I declined, explaining that I was tired, and he left without any objection. Later that night, something unusual happened. I was woken up by the sound of my door creaking. As I blinked my eyes open, I saw a figure standing in the room. It was Sam. He was standing just in front of my bed, right by my feet. I was still groggy from being jolted awake from a deep sleep, leaving me uncertain if it was a dream or if it was truly happening. He gave me a long, unblinking stare, not uttering a single word, as though he himself was just as taken aback. In the darkness, I could make out his faint, cautious smile, as if he was attempting to apologize for his behavior. As I began to regain my consciousness, I grew increasingly uneasy, feeling my heart rate start to climb. I didn't know how, but somehow I knew that the whole situation was odd and wrong. In complete fear, I found myself incapable of uttering a single word, each passing second dragging me towards a sense of impending dread. Without witnessing any visible movement from him, I felt the blanket starting to slide against my legs. It seemed as though he was removing the blanket in an attempt to join me in bed. He stopped while he whispered in the dark, "Just keep it a secret, okay?" I screamed out in fear, causing him to run out of the room. I quickly left my room and spent the rest of the night in my brother's room, too scared and confused to make sense of what had happened. My little brother was too young to understand, so I spared him even the chance to hear about what had happened. The next day was an odd one. Sam was in the house, but he avoided me. I was unable to contact my parents. I spent most of the day in my room, only coming out to play games with my little brother, a way to distract us both from the awkward tension. That night, my fear didn't allow me to sleep. I was lying in the darkness of my quiet room, when suddenly I heard faint footsteps going up the stairs. The sound grew louder for each step, then suddenly fading again as they passed my door. Fear-stricken, I was somehow spared from the terror. I suddenly realized that the footsteps must be heading towards my brother's room. Filled with fear and panic, I left my bed and ran towards his room. I caught Sam by my brother's bed. I yelled at him to stay away, to which he quickly left the room, muttering about checking in on my brother. That was the last I saw of him. The next day, my parents returned home. My brother and I stayed in his room until we were sure Sam was gone. My parents asked about my strange sleeping arrangement, but I didn't reveal the real reason. A week later, I found out that Sam had moved out of town. I felt a relief knowing that I would never have to encounter him again. I never felt a reason to tell anyone of what happened, until many years later when I caught a glimpse of a newsflash. The screen was showing a face that somehow looked familiar to me, but I couldn't exactly figure out from where. I heard the police saying that they were looking for a man that was accused of multiple accounts of sexual abuse against children. The face on the screen had the same faint, cautious smile as the one I had seen many years ago in the darkness of my bedroom. I carry the regret of my silence to this day, knowing that I may have inadvertently put others in danger. A memory I've kept bottled up simply because I was too embarrassed and awkward to share it. I felt I was about to burst into tears, but they quickly turned into anger and frustration. At the same time, I was overflowed by a sensation of hopelessness, knowing that I couldn't do anything about the situation. I got a flashback to the feeling of my blanket sliding against my legs, reminiscing the unpleasantly tickling on my thigh. Confused and rather disconnected from the situation, I realized that my phone was buzzing in my front pocket. I picked it up and saw my brother's name on the screen. As I answered, I heard him breathing heavily for what seemed like forever. Then he spoke. "So, you want to go and get that bastard?"